Chapter 17. Kuang Chao Jin revisits his old haunts. Dr. Chow ranks high among the poets. After Kuang Chao Jin left to take the prefectural examination, his father missed him so much that 20 days' absence seemed to him like 2 years. And every day, with tears in his eyes, he watched for his son's return. One day he said to his wife, "Our second son has been gone all this time now, and we don't know whether he's been lucky enough to pass or not. I may die at any moment, and I shan't be able to see him on my deathbed." At the thought of this, he shed tears. As his wife was comforting him, they heard shouts and blows outside, and a fierce-looking fellow burst in, accusing old Kuang's eldest son, of taking over his pitch in the market. When Kuang Ta would not admit that he was in the wrong, but answered back furiously, the other man seized his peddler's kit, spilled out the contents, and kicked the basket to pieces. Kuang Ta threatened to drag him to court. The magistrate is a friend of my brother's," he shouted. "Think I'm afraid of you? Let's go to the Yamen." When Kuang heard this, he called his son in. "Don't talk like that," he said. "We're a respectable family. We've never picked quarrels with people or gone to court. Besides, you were in the wrong to occupy his stand. You better ask someone to apologize to him for you. Instead of brawling like this and upsetting my peace of mind." His son would not listen to him, but stamped out in a rage, to go on quarreling until all the neighbors gathered round to reason with him and try to drag the two belligerents apart. Then Pan the headman arrived on the scene and persuaded the other man to quiet down. "Pick up your things, young Kuan," he urged. "Take them inside." So Kuang Ta gathered together his things, cursing as he did so. Just then 2 men appeared with a strip of red paper. "Does a Mr. Kuang live here?" they asked. The headman realized that these were messages from the examination school. "Good. Master Kuang has passed," he said. "Young Kuang, take these 2 gentlemen into your father." Kuang Ta had just finished gathering together his wares. Picking up his shoulder pole, he led the 2 messengers into the house, while the headman advised the other man to make off. The 2 messengers congratulated old Kuang, who was lying in bed, and pasted up an announcement on which was written, "This is to inform you that Kuang Chao Jin of your honorable family has been classed first on the list by the imperial examiner." The old man was very pleased. He told his wife to boil tea, fill 2 dishes with sweets and dried bean curd from his eldest son's pack, and boil a dozen eggs for the messengers. The headman also came to offer his congratulations, bringing a dozen eggs with him. Then they boiled all the eggs together and kept Mr. Pan and the messengers to a meal. After they had eaten, old Kuang offered the messengers 200 coins as a tip, but they said it was not enough. "I'm a poor man, and our house was just burnt down," he told them. "It was very good of you to come to announce my son's success, and this is just a trifle to spend on tea." Mr. Pan reasoned with them as well, and gave them another 100 coins, after which the messengers left. Only 4 or 5 days later, when Kuang Chao Jin had seen the examiner off, did he come back in his scholar's cap and gown to pay his respects to his parents. His sister-in-law had gone home to live since the fire, so he had only his brother to greet. But Kuang Ta treated him more warmly now that he had become a licentiate. The headman collected money and chose a day on which to hold a feast to congratulate him in the monastery, collecting more than 20 strings of coins this time, and killing 2 pigs as well as a number of chickens and ducks. The feast went on for 2 whole days. The monk tried to make up to the new licentiate too. After consulting his father, Kuang Chao Jin decided to give up his bean curd business and handed over what was left of the money to his brother so that he could rent 2 more rooms and start a small grocery shop. This meant that his sister-in-law was able to come back and the family was united again, while the money made in the shop was enough to support them all. A few days after this, Kuang Chao Jin went to the city to thank Magistrate Li, who now treated him as an equal, entertained him to a meal, and offered to be his patron. After Kuang Chao Jin returned home, the 2 messengers from the examination school came to the house again, and he asked Mr. Pan to help entertain them. "The county tutor wants Mr. Kuang to call on him," said the men. "He must prepare presents for the interview." Kuang Chao Jin was annoyed. I recognize only my own patron, he said. Why should I call on this tutor and give him presents? You mustn't talk like that, Pan told him. If our county magistrate is your patron, that is your private affair. But this tutor has been appointed by the government to supervise scholars here. So even if you pass all the examinations, you will still be considered his pupil. How can you refuse to call on him? Since you're a poor scholar, not much will be expected of you. Just give the messengers 20 cents of silver each. When a date has been fixed for his visit, the messengers left. And on the day appointed, Qiang Chao-jin took presents to his tutor. His father ordered him to offer sacrifices at the graves of their ancestors on his way back. The day that Qiang Chao-jin came back from the family tombs, his father took a turn for the worse and began to sink rapidly. Cordials proved ineffective. The old man's appetite gradually failed, and although Qiang Chao-jin offered prayers and consulted oracles, the answer was always discouraging. Then he suggested to his brother that they should use his former capital for the funeral expenses, while the shop carried on as usual. Thus they brought a coffin, prepared clothes, and made a scholar's cap to fit the old man's head, so that all was ready. One day he would lose consciousness completely, but the next he would be slightly better. When at last the old man knew that his end was near, he called his sons to his bedsides. "I'm not going to get over this," he told them. "I shall soon be in my grave. I've been a failure all my life, and I can't leave you a single piece of land. I even lost the house. Now, Chao-jin, you have been lucky enough to pass the examination, and may go further later. But fame and fortune are external things after all. It's goodness that really counts. You've been a good son and a loyal brother when it wasn't easy. And I don't want you to change and start thinking yourself high and mighty now that things are going more smoothly for you. After I'm dead and you've finished mourning, you must lose no time in finding a wife. But choose a girl from a poor family. Don't try to better yourself by marrying into a family that's rich and noble. Your brother is no good, but you must go on showing him the same respect that you would to me." The two brothers wept as they listened. Then the old man closed his eyes and died. The whole family began to wail, and Qiang Chao-jin's lamentations would have moved heaven and earth, as he made ready for the funeral. Since they were cramped for space, the coffin was interred in the ancestral graveyard after the first 7 days. Interred in the ancestral graveyard after the first 7 days, and all the villagers attended the funeral. When the two brothers had called to thank the mourners, Qiang Ta opened shop again, while Qiang Chao-jin went every 7 days to sacrifice before his father's tomb. He had just reached home one evening after offering sacrifice when Mr. Pan called. "Do you know that the county magistrate is in trouble?" he said. "The sub-prefect from Wen Chao has been sent to take away his seal. Since he is your patron, you had better go to the city to see him." The next day, accordingly, Qiang Chao-jin changed out of mourning dress and set off to the city to see his patron. As he was approaching the city, however, he found that the citizens had made up their minds to keep Magistrate Li, and sounding gongs and stopping the market had surrounded the sub-prefect sent to dismiss him, and attempted to take the seal away by force. The city gates were closed in broad daylight, and the whole place was in an uproar. Unable to enter the city, Qiang Chao-jin went home to wait for news. And on the third day he heard that officers had been sent from the provincial capital to pacify the people and arrest the ringleaders. 3 or 4 days later, he was coming back from his father's tombs when Mr. Pan accosted him again. "Things look bad," warned the headman. "There's going to be trouble." "What trouble?" asked Qiang Chao-jin. "I'll tell you inside." They went into Qiang Chao-jin's house and sat down. "Yesterday a pacification commissioner arrived in the county town, and the people scattered," said Pan. "The authorities have ordered the commissioner to find out who headed the riot, and he has arrested a few men. Now 2 bad runners in the Yamen have informed against you, too, saying that since the magistrate treated you well, you must be one of the ringleaders. Of course, there's nothing in it, but the authorities will be looking into the question, and who knows what their decision will be. If you think there is something in the charge, they may send to arrest you. If I were you, I'll go to another province to lie low for a time. If no trouble comes of this, well and good. If it does, I'll do what I can for you." Qiang Chao Jin was quite staggered. "What bad luck," he cried. "Thank you for telling me. But where can I go?" "Just think. What place do you know best?" "Hangzhou is the only place I know well, but I have no friends there." "If you go to Hangzhou, I will give you a letter to a cousin of mine there. He is my third cousin, so he is called Pan Number 3, and he works in the Finance Commissioner's Yamen. He lives on the hill in front of the Yamen. If you call on him, he'll look after you, because he's a very open-handed fellow. You'll be all right." "In that case, I'll thank you to write a letter, uncle. I had better leave tonight." When Mr. Pan was writing the letter, Qiang Chao Jin asked his brother and sister-in-law to look after everything at home. Then, with tears in his eyes, said goodbye to his mother, put his things together, pocketed the letter, and left. The headman saw him to the highway. With his pack on his back, Qiang Chao Jin tramped for several days until he reached Wenchao. There was no boat when he arrived, and therefore he had to put up at an inn, where he found a lamp lit and a traveler sitting at the table quietly reading a book. He had a lean, sallow face and sparse mustache, and because he was a short-sighted fellow and absorbed in his reading, he did not see Qiang Chao Jin come in. But when the latter came over and greeted him, he stood up and returned the greeting. He looked like a merchant, this man, in his black silk coat and tile-shaped cap. When they sat down, Qiang Chao Jin asked, "May I inquire your name and your native place?" My name is Qing Lan Qian, and my home is 20 miles from here. I have a shop in the provincial capital, which I am on my way to visit. But since there is no boat today, I am staying here for the night." Seeing from Qiang Chao Jin's square cap that he was a scholar, Qing asked, "May I know your distinguished native place, sir, and your honorable name?" "My name is Qiang Chao Jin, and I come from Yuanqing County. I too am waiting for a boat to Hangzhou." "Good," said Qing. "Tomorrow we can travel together." Then the two of them went to sleep. The next morning they boarded a boat and hired a cabin between them. And once they were aboard and had put down their luggage, Mr. Qing produced a book. Qiang Chao Jin did not like to ask what it was, but a glance at the colorful marginal notes told him that it was a volume of poetry. At lunch, Mr. Qing took up the book again, and when they sat sipping tea, Qiang Chao Jin said, "Last night you told me, sir, that you had a shop in the provincial capital. May I ask what shop it is?" "A hatter's." "Since you have a shop, why do you read these books?" Mr. Qing laughed. "Did you think only successful candidates in square caps read books?" he asked. "There are many famous scholars in Hangzhou who don't think much of the Parku essays. I may tell you, sir, that my name, Qing Lan Qiang, has appeared in all the anthologies of poetry for the last 20 years. When officials visit Hangzhou, they all come to write poems with us." Thereupon he opened his case, which was in the cabin, took out several dozen sheets of paper, and handed them to Qiang Chao Jin. "These are my unworthy effusions," he said. "I would like to have your criticism." Ashamed of his tactlessness, Qiang Chao Jin took the poems, and although he could not understand them, pretended to read them through and praised them as best he could. "What was your examiner?" asked Qing Lan Qiang. "The newly appointed one. The new examiner used to work with Mr. Liu of Huchao, who was a poet and a friend of mine. Our poeticizing parties were attended by Mr. Yang Chicheng, Mr. Chuan Wu Ying, Chu Hsian Fu of Chie Sing, the grandson of Prefect Chu, and the two sons of Minister Lao, the third and fourth brothers. They are all good friends of mine. There was a Mr. Niu Pu Yu too, but unfortunately I only knew him by reputation. We never met." When Qiang Chao Jin heard Qing speak of all these scholars, he asked, "I suppose you know Mr. Ma Chunshang, who compiles essays for Literary Expanse Bookshop. One of those Parku essayists, isn't he?" "I knew him, of course, but not well. To tell the truth, we Hangzhou scholars don't set much store by men of that type. Ours is quite a large group, and when we reach Hangzhou, I shall introduce you to some of its members." Hearing this, Qiang Chao Jin was filled with amazement. They traveled together to Broken Bay, where the boat moored, and just as they were going to have their luggage carried ashore, Qing Lan Qiang, who was standing in the prow, saw a sedan chair stop on the bank. From the chair alighted a man in a scholar's cap and sapphire blue gown, who was holding a white paper fan with a poem on it, from which hung a square ivory seal, followed by a servant carrying a medicine chest. This man was about to enter a house when Qing called to him, "Dr. Chow, I haven't seen you for a long time. Where are you going?" The doctor turned. "Aha!" he cried. "So it's you. When did you arrive?" "Just this moment. My luggage hasn't been carried to shore yet." Then, turning back, Qing called into the cabin. "Please come out, Mr. Kuang. I want you to meet my best friend, Dr. Chow Hisian Chai." Dr. Chow Hisu Chai. Kuang Chao Jin came out, and they went ashore together. Then the three of them bowed to each other and entered the tea house, into which Qing had ordered the boatmen to carry their luggage. "May I ask this gentleman's name?" said Dr. Chow. "This is Mr. Kuang of Yuanjing County," Qing told him. "We came here in the same boat." After an exchange of courtesies, they sat down and ordered 3 bowls of tea. "What has kept you away so long?" asked Dr. Chow. "I have been missing you all this time." "I had some vulgar business to attend to," replied Qing. "Have there been any poetry meetings?" "Naturally, last month, when old Mr. Q of the Imperial Patent Office came here on a pilgrimage to Tianchu Monastery, he invited us there for the day to write poems. And when Commissioner Fan of the Office of Transmission asked leave to visit his ancestors' tombs, although his boat stopped here for 1 day only, he invited us aboard to compose poetry and entertained us for a whole day. After that, Sensor Hisun came to borrow money from the governor, but instead of working on the governor, he invited us to his rooms every day to write poems. They all asked after you. Now Mr. Hu is collecting funeral odes for Mr. Liu of Hu Chao, and has sent several dozen sheets of paper to me. I can't dispose of them all, so it's very fortunate that you've come. You can relieve me of a couple of sheets." He paused to sip his tea, then asked, "I take it that Mr. Kuang is a scholar too? Under which examiner did he pass?" "The present one," said Qing. Dr. Chow smiled. "In that case," he said, "he is a classmate of my eldest son." After they had drunk some tea, Dr. Chow left to see a patient, and Qing asked, "Where would you like your luggage taken, Mr. Kuang?" "To Literary Expanse bookshop for the time being." "Very well," said Qing. "I will leave you then. I am going to my shop. It is on the main street facing the Guardian Angels Monastery at Beancurd Bridge. I hope when you're free you'll drop in for a chat." He called for a porter and left. When Kuang Chao Jin took his luggage to the bookshop and inquired for Mr. Ma, he learned that Ma Chun Shang had gone back to Chu Chao. The manager of the bookshop recognized him, however, and let him spend the night there. The next day, Kuang Chao Jin took his letter of introduction to the Finance Commissioner's Yamen to look for pan number 3. But when he found his house, the servant told him, "Third master is away. He left a few days ago on official business for the examiner's Yamen at Tai Chao. When will he be back?" "He has only just left. He'll probably be away a month or more." Kuang Chao Jin then made his way to the main street to look for the hatter's shop near Beancurd Bridge. But he drew a blank there too. When he questioned the neighbors, they said, "Mr. Qing, on a fine day like this, he will be pretty sure to have gone to the 6 bridges to admire the spring scenery, and look at the flowers and willows while he writes poems about the lake. When he can get such inspiration outside, he's not likely to stay in the shop." Kuang Chao Jin turned away, but after walking down 2 streets, he caught sight of Qing Lan Qiang in the distance, with 2 men in scholars' caps. When Kuang Chao Jin came up with them, they greeted each other, and Qing, pointing at one of his companions who was pockmarked, said, "This is Mr. Qi Qian Feng." Then, pointing to the other who had a beard, "This is Mr. Pu Mo Ching. They are 2 of our leading poets." "Who is this man?" asked the poets. Qing Lian Cheng introduced Kuang Chao Jin, who told him, "I called just now at your shop, but found you out. Where are you going?" "Nowhere in particular. We are just strolling." But when good friends meet, they shouldn't separate. Why not go to the pavilion for a few cups of wine?" An excellent idea, said the other two. They took Yuan Chaojin with them to a tavern, chose seats, and sat down. When the waiter asked them what dishes they wanted, Ching ordered 12 cents worth of assorted meat, 1 plate of pork crackling and 1 of bean sprouts. After the wine was brought in, Chi and Feng asked, "Why didn't you call on Dr. Chow today?" "He is entertaining an extraordinary guest," replied Pu Mo Ching. "What's extraordinary about the guest?" "I assure you he is most extraordinary. If you'll each drink a cup of wine, I'll tell you about him." Chi and Feng brought out wine and they drank. "This guest is named Huang," said Pu Mo Ching. "He passed the palace examinations in the 3rd year of Qing Te, and is now magistrate of Ningpo. When he was in the capital, he knew Dr. Yang Chi-chung, and since Yang Chi-chung is a friend of Dr. Chow, and knew that Mr. Huang was coming to Chiqiang, he gave him a letter of introduction to our doctor. It so happened, though, that Dr. Chow was not in when Dr. Huang called, and didn't see him in." "Many officials call on Dr. Chow," said Ching. "There is nothing extraordinary in Mr. Huang not being able to see him." "He was really out that day," said Pu, "but the next day he returned to Dr. Huang's call, and when they met, they started comparing notes. Don't you think it was strange?" "What was strange?" they demanded. "Mr. He-sung was born in the same year and same month, on the same day and at the very same hour as Dr. Chow." "Well, yes, that is extraordinary. But there's something more extraordinary to follow. Dr. Chow is 59 this year and has 2 sons and 4 grandsons, while his wife has grown old with him. But he is still an ordinary citizen. Mr. Huang has passed the metropolitan examination and is a magistrate, but he lost his wife when he was 30, and he has neither sons nor daughters." "That is really extraordinary," cried Chi Hsien Feng. "They were born under the same stars, yet their fortunes have been totally different. They have nothing at all in common. This shows that astrology and horoscopes are unreliable." They had been drinking a fair amount as they talked, and now Pu Mo Ching said, "Gentlemen, I have a problem for you. Here are Mr. Huang and Dr. Chow, who were born under the same stars. One has become an official, but is alone in the world, while the other has a house full of children and grandchildren, but has not become an official. Which of the two is the luckier? Which would you rather be?" As no one expressed any opinion, Pu Mo Ching said, "Let Mr. Huang speak first. What do you think, Mr. Huang?" "If one can't have the good fortune of both," said Huang Chaojin, in my humble opinion, it would be better to be Dr. Chow." The others clapped their hands and cried, "Well said!" "The fact remains," said Pu Mo Ching, "that officialdom is the goal of our study, and although Dr. Chow is fortunate in many respects, he has not yet passed the examinations. This isn't just our opinion. He himself regrets that he had never become an official. But of course, if you want to be an official, and at the same time enjoy Dr. Chow's happiness, that's asking too much. There are such men in the world, true, but since we have raised this problem, we can't admit the possibility, for then there ceases to be any problem. In my opinion, better to be an official than to have a happy family life. In other words, choose to be Dr. Huang rather than Dr. Chow. What do you think?" "I don't agree," said Chi Feng. "Although Dr. Chow is not an official, his eldest son has passed the provincial examinations. And when the young man passes the metropolitan examination, a title will be given to his father. Won't the son's officialdom be enough for the family?" "No," cried Pu Mo Ching with a smile. "That's not the case. Once there was an old gentleman whose son had already reached high position, who still insisted on taking the examination himself. When his name was called, however, and the examiner would not accept him as a candidate, he threw down his paper and cursed, 'It's all the fault of my beast of a son that I can't wear a real official's cap. Judging by this, a son's rank can't satisfy the father.' You're all wide off the mark," said Ching Lian Cheng. "Fill up and drink 3 cups each, then listen to me." "And what if we disagree with you?" asked Chi Feng. "In that case, I'll drink 3 cups more." "That is fair," they agreed, then filled their cups and drank. "Gentlemen," said Ching, "when you choose officialdom, is it for the sake of fame or for the sake of profit?" "For fame," they answered. Then you must realize that although Dr. Chow has not become an official, his poems are printed in dozens of anthologies and read all over the empire. Who hasn't heard the name of Chow Hsien Chai? In fact, he is probably much more famous than most scholars who have passed the metropolitan examination. Having said this, he roared with laughter. Very nicely reasoned indeed, said the others, and drained their wine. This was the first time that Kuang Chao Jian had heard such views expressed. We have had a pleasant encounter today, said Qing Lan Qiang. Let us choose Lao as our rhyme and go back to write a poem apiece. We'll copy them out on one sheet of paper and send them to Mr. Kuang for his criticism. Then they left the tavern and went their different ways. But if you want to know what next befell Kuang Chao Jian, you must read the next chapter.